I encourage the Dash community. I encourage, the Bitcoin community. I encourage any community that supports atomic swaps to look at what we're doing and find ways to integrate and work with us, because we want to work synergistically with people.
And hey everyone, we have a fantastic pleasure of speaking with the one and only Joe Sky of Particl. How's it going, Joe?
Hey, I'm good, man. How's it going, Joe?
Yeah, it's good connecting with you. I heard a bunch of people for the longest time talk about decentralized marketplaces and ways you could do free trade and things like that, facilitated by cryptocurrency technology. And of course, the Particl always piqued my interest. And so why don't you just give a really quick rundown of what is Particl?
Okay. So Particl is a blockchain. It's its own blockchain. It has its own native currency token, the Part token. Particl is the Part token is a privacy coin. And what our blockchain's done is we've basically integrated a marketplace, a decentralized marketplace, into our blockchain so that you can buy and sell goods direct from buyer to seller with full privacy, without any intermediaries, without any trusted sort of setups required. Yeah.
So essentially sort of like an open bazaar, which obviously everyone hates comparisons, but just to get people on board, how is it fundamentally different though?
Okay, so I think, as I said, it's a privacy. So the Particl network is a privacy network. So the native currency of the Particl network, the Part token, it's a privacy coin. So it can exist in several states. So it exists in a public state, but it also it supports Ring CT and CT, the privacy technologies the privacy technology that's inherent in Monero. So in terms of the transactions on the network, I'll put it this way. In terms of the transactions that are on the network, if you're doing a third-party blockchain analysis, all of the items that are bought and sold on the Particl Marketplace, because all of those transactions are carried out using Ring CT/CT transactions, the buyer, seller, and amounts are always obscured from third-party view. So anyone looking at that chain, they're not going to really see. They'll see transactions are occurring, but they won't see between who, and they won't see what the amounts are. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Particl is a proof of stake chain. And when I explain how the network works, this will make a lot of sense in terms of really different from openbazaar. Because Particl is a proof of stake chain with an integrated marketplace, what happens is if I'm a new user to the Particl network, I can download the Particl desktop client software. It's a bit like Spotify, and it connects to the Particl. It creates a Particl node, connects to the Particl network. Now, at the minute, there's one main marketplace, the Particl Marketplace. But actually, this network can support the creation of infinite number of markets on it, which I'll get into a little bit later when we can discuss that. But in the context of this, you connect to the Particl Marketplace, you can see items that are listed for sale, and you can purchase goods, and you can buy them if you want to, and you can also list items that you want to sell. Now, as I said, because we're completely privacy focused, we're private on so many layers, it's unbelievable. So for a start, we don't do KYC, where you don't need to provide personal information. We don't store personal information, and you don't need to provide it to access or use this network or its services ever. That's the first thing. As I said, Ring CT and CT on all the transactions that for goods means that flow is masked from third-party analysis. Our escrow that is used to validate validate and secure transactions, there's no sort of trusted human intermediaries in it. It runs on an automated smart contract. So what happens is, if I've got this cup, and if I'm a seller and I'm selling this cup, and you're the buyer and you want to buy this cup off me for, let's call it $10 worth of part, all the transactions are settled in the Part token. So you then agree, Part's going at $2. So you as a buyer, you want this cup for $10. You put $10 into the escrow pot. plus another $10 as deposit. So you're putting $20 as the buyer. Me as the seller, I put $10 as well worth of part into that escrow, and then I ship this cup across to you. And provided that you receive that cup and report the sale as successful, and I say I've sent it, and we both agree it's worked, you get your deposit back. I get the $10, the $10 you gave me for the cup, and you get your $10 deposit back, and I get my $10 deposit back, and your $10 you get the cup. That works. But if either you or me disagree and we can't reach a resolution, we can extend the escrow period. But if it's unresolvable, those funds are locked forever. So
kind of no one gets their money.
No one gets their money. The buyer loses $20 and the seller loses $10. Plus, if they're on a seller, they've lost that cup. So that way, the escrow doesn't require any third parties, means the buyer and seller don't need to know anything about each other, but they're both incentivized to act really honestly and to ensure resolutions are reached quickly. So there's that aspect to it. As I mentioned, it's a proof of stake network. So the way so what you can do with our network is, you can basically create a wallet on a Ledger Nano, because we do have Ledger support, and you can then use that. You can then basically use a smart contract to set that wallet address to designate another node to stake on that wallet's behalf, and that node will then receive the staking reward. So you can obscure the physical location of your wallet funds. In terms of geolocating, the Particl nodes can be configured to run on Tor. So geographically, you can mask the location, you can mask the physical location of your funds, you can obscure the transaction flows on the entire network from third-party analysis. You don't have any trusted intermediaries for your escrow. You don't need to provide any personal information. I don't think you can get more private than that. That's something that openbazaar or no other platform, to my knowledge, offers right now.
Yeah, so essentially, it's just privacy at every layer is kind of what you're going for, right?
Yeah. And I think that the proof of stake net aspects of this really set us apart from openbazaar. So if you look at our network at the minute, we're a low market cap coin, right? There's 9 million tokens in circulation. The current inflation rate on the supply is around 3% per annum, which goes down to 2% ongoing from around July 2020. And the way it works is this: as there's more, so basically the minimum amount you're going to earn if you're staking on the Particl network in the minute is 3%. But in practice, only half the network historically is staking at any time. So on average, it works out a minimum of 5 to 6% per annum rewards. But on top of that, everyone who's staking gets a cut of all transaction fees on the network. So as the number of every sort of listing has a micro fee. Every escrow settlement has a micro fee. There's no actual commissions, just micro fees, to list. But essentially, as there's more network activity, that pool of micro fees grows and it's distributed amongst stakers. So where we're different from openbazaar is we actually encourage vendor adoption, because if you're a vendor, you could sell that $10 cup, make $10 worth of part, which is about 5 part, and you could set that to stake. But if you wanted to, you could, let's say the cup was, an antique cup worth $100. You made $100 worth of part, which is 50 part. You could cash out 25 part to fiat or another cryptocurrency using an exchange. We are building atomic swap support at the minute. Well, I'll get into that bit later. But you could cash 25 bucks out, and you could leave, 25? No, so 50. So you could cash, basically cash out half your part into fiat and leave the other half staking. But as the network transaction activity on this network grows, the model should follow, in theory, that circulating supply gets locked up from staking, and circulating supply gets increasingly locked up from an increasing number of escrows, and the transaction fees are growing. So therefore, the vast majority of adopters, the early adopters, the mid-stage adopters, and I'd argue even the late-stage adopters, if they leave even portions of their funds sat staking in part, they're benefiting the Particl network by increasing the node count, increasing the number of the decentralization of the network, increasing the distribution of the currency, and increasing the stability and security of the network. The network benefits that way, but the vendors themselves benefit because it's a relatively low circulating supply with an increasing buy pressure and a decreasing circulating amount because loads of this supply is getting locked up. So transaction velocity is increasing, circulating supply is diminishing, and the value entering the Particl network is increasing. Therefore, the value of the part token should just keep going up and up and up over time. So the fiat equivalent, if you're selling this mug for $50, you take 25 out, as fiat, but leave $25 worth of part staking. That's part. But the value of each part goes from $2 today to like $10 in the future. Guess what? You made a ton more than you would have trading on any other network that's e-commerce related. You wouldn't get that return on Amazon or eBay.
Yes, of course. So it's a entirely self-incentivizing network to where you want to use it as a seller. You get to cut down on fees and commissions and things like that. And then say you make Amazon famous by selling what most people want to get. You don't get a piece of that. But if you make the Particl network grow and you decide to reinvest some in the actual network that you're helping build, then there's a bunch of economic indicators that tend to incentivize you to do that sort of a thing. That's pretty fascinating. Now I'm thinking about selling things. What if I decide to sell quality farm raised beef, yet my whole family is vegan and they don't want to see me doing that kind of thing, and I encourage them, hey, you got to try out this new system. Then they get on and they see me selling this stuff, and then I have an awkward conversation at the dinner table, something like that. What happens in that situation? Do I just have to start messaging people privately and say, hey, you want to buy some beef? Don't tell anyone.
Okay, so we kind of work that. So interesting you should say that. The solution to this is already built into the back end of the Particl network, and we're currently building the GUI for it. But what the Particl network, at the moment, there's one big marketplace. So you download the software client and you enter market. It's actually the name of the market, and that loads the general purpose marketplace. But actually, in theory, at the moment, you could do this now. You could download that client and create a different market with its own unique view key. And then you can just share that to people that you trust. So, if I'm selling you, so you're selling me beef, you've made a market and it's got its own view key, and you populate that with listings for your beef products. You give me that view key, and as long as I don't share that view key and you don't share that view key, that market's just private between you and me. Now, at the moment, you can actually already do that with Particl, but you'd have to download separate clients and separate machines at the moment to really make that robust. What we're building is a front end which allows you to effectively build as many markets as you want and just switch between them. So, in that scenario, if you're a vendor, okay, you're selling beef, you could create one market on your node just for selling beef that has its own view key. You share that with one group of people and trust that they don't share that view key around, and that's a private market between us. You can do it for whatever you really like, basically, and those are, that's functionality that's coming pretty soon.
Yeah, interesting. So just a private party kind of market thing, like an invitation only, but built in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure that has. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I say invitation only, but like I said, if that view key gets out, then that's the important thing you need to keep in mind.
Yeah. So in other words, if the invitation gets up and then the wrong person comes, you could crash the party. But yeah, then again, that's sort of an unavoidable thing about the future. Now, with all that, I'm thinking this sounds interesting. I have a lot of applications I could think of, but I don't have Particl. I don't store Particl. I live off of Dash. That's what I use. It's my money. I buy everything with that. And so what do you do for people like me who would be like, oh, I love to use this, but then I don't have the money that works on the platform?
Okay. So Particl's actually been built using the Bitcoin code base. and it operates using SegWit. Now, what this means is that Particl actually supports atomic swap functionality, and we did proof of concept of an atomic swap with Decred in 2017. Now, we are doing some work on atomic swaps to kind of update that and make it more robust and user-friendly. But what I'm going to encourage and just say, I'm going to say this: Particl is an open source project. If you run if you're a developer for another cryptocurrency and you want to give a non-speculative use case to your cryptocurrency and you want to leverage the privacy aspects of our network, feel free to have a look at our code and maybe build a simple widget that you could integrate into the Particl desktop client, which allows you to just, atomic swap, just send your cryptocurrency into our network and have it converted into the part token to just trade away. That's been proved. We've proved that can be done. We're doing some work on it at the moment, which I can't really say too much about. But I encourage I encourage the Dash community. I encourage, the Bitcoin community. I encourage any community that supports atomic swaps to look at what we're doing and find ways to integrate and work with us, because we want to work synergistically with people.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Now, the last kind of angle I've heard, through a few different private conversations, a little bit of frustration expressed at, hey, this is some world-changing stuff. This could really be the next big thing in a lot of ways, and I don't feel like the rest of the crypto universe feels the same, like understands that, or really is taking note to the degree to which they should. And I can kind of represent that from just the experience of whenever I go into discussions about people saying, oh, we need to solve these problems, we need to solve that problem. And then I just say, well, Dash has already done all this. And then they get very surprised, like, wait, you got this, you got that? And it just seems to be a little bit of the chronically underhyped project. You kind of feel that the Dash curse has kind of fallen on Particl as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a cold crypto winter for one thing.
Hey, who didn't?
I think we went through a speculative bubble. Particl's always been a relatively low-key project. It goes back quite a way. If you look at the history, it came from a project called SDC. They did a token swap. There's an extensive history there. But it's interesting you say this. I remember being around in 2016, which is when I got reintroduced to crypto, looking at a Poloniex trading desk, seeing 20 coins, right? And I just remember looking at coin market cap, seeing about 900 projects, and a year later there were 3,000, like less than a year. There's only, and the thing is, attention, the amount of attention had increased, but not proportionate to the number of projects. So it all got diluted. So this is understandable. And through this crypto bear winter, what we've seen is lots of scam projects have been exiting. A lot of people who aren't doing legitimate work have been watching their projects just get hammered. If they've not been performing from a development point of view or from a marketing point of view, if they don't have a meaningful use case that people are interested in, well, people eventually just use interest, because there was tons of pump and dumps. Let's not ignore the markets. But I think projects like Dash, and I think projects like Particl, and I think any project that brings fundamental value to this space, that brings non-speculative use case, that increases convenience and fills a genuine need in society. And I think there's a genuine need for privacy. And at the minute, you can't have privacy with convenience. You want to use most online e-commerce systems, for example, you're sacrificing. You have to give up your personal information. You want to get rid of it. You have to send emails, fill in forms. Sometimes you're pressed to delete things, but it's insane. So there's no convenience. And I think projects that are bringing that, I think we'll see a resurgence. I think projects that have sound economic models, that have sound incentivization models, they will grow through this.
Yeah, I absolutely concur. Now, where can people find more about you and where to contact you? And then where can people figure out more about Particl if they want to go check that out?
Okay, so firstly, the website is particl.io, and it's Particl without an E, so it's PARTICL.io. Okay, so you can go to that. That's our main website. On the chats, I recommend Discord or Telegram. I use both. We recommend people use Discord, but those channels are linked. And if you want to follow me, I mean, yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. You can always follow me on Twitter. My handle's at the greatest doc, which reflects my professional life. Hopefully my level of skill. But yeah, I mean, sorry, chat-based. But yeah, I mean, by all means, check us out.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a very enlightening chat, and thanks for sharing your time. And I hope you have a great one.
Very soon.